Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
This program is suitable for general viewing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very good morning here from Horizon TV. Thank you so much for staying with us, and this is the Muslim Insight, the show that brings you a weekly news recap as well as a review of today's Friday Bulletin. Joining me later on the show will be Mr. Chacha Mwita, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. We'll be able to bring you, together with me, the review of today's Friday Bulletin. But before we continue, first we want to bring you the headlines.
It is estimated that over 60,000 children are malnourished. Of this, over about 17,000 of them are severely malnourished.
Nutrition program. Garissa County launches nutrition plan to address the health needs of the children and pregnant mothers in the county.
Those who want to visit their friends and family abroad, those who want to travel, passports are now available.
Hajj 2023. Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya decry delay and unnecessary bureaucracy against Muslims in issuance of passports.
Every open heart surgery costs Kenya shillings 1.2 million. Every keyhole surgery costs over 750,000 Kenya shillings.
Children with heart defects. MP Shah Hospital organizes a fundraiser to help children born with heart defects undergo life-saving operations.
Thank you for that. Now, my name is Nadia Osman and my sign language interpreter is Ilhan Noor. Now, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with Garissa County Government and Trust the Homes and International Children's Right Charitable Humanitarian Umbrella, have launched a nutrition response program aimed at preventing and treating malnutrition in children, pregnant and lactating mothers in Garissa County. The program aims to address the nutrition and health needs of the vulnerable populations in the county as a result of the immediate drought emergency, as well as strengthen community and facility-level nutrition services and hygiene promotion.
According to Tom Omolo, UNICEF's project manager in Garissa County, the nutrition situation among children in the county remains very critical.
Garissa, the nutrition situation remains very critical. Of course, it is estimated that over 60,000 children are malnourished. Of this, over about 17,000 of them are severely malnourished, and the rest are moderately malnourished. Now, as a part of the ongoing response, the county government has been working very closely, jointly with partners, to be able to support the county to mount a response, to be able to address the cases of malnutrition in the county.
Omolo said that due to the concerted efforts of the players in the sector, malnourished children and mothers identified in the screening process have been treated on site, while others are referred to hospitals.
We have seen that through this particular response, the county has been able to reach many children. Last year alone, over 7,000 children who were severely malnourished were actually treated, courtesy of the support, the leadership that is provided by the county government and the support that they also get from different actors. The exercise has just ended, and we have, through that particular process, the department has been able to screen over 80% of children who are severely malnourished. They have been able to identify those who are malnourished, they have been referred, and also some of them were treated on site for malnutrition.
Garissa Deputy County Coordinator for Nutrition Abdi Sheikh Muhammad said that they have trained health workers in the county on malnutrition to help in accurately managing the children at the community level.
We have got nutrition supplies that are plenty in the health facilities. We have got the nutrition, what do you call the health workers have been trained on what they call the Imam modular training. Imam modular training help them to capacity build them in the management of what they call the severe malnutrition and the acute malnutrition. In other words, they are called the SAM cases and MAM cases. And therefore, this helps us in accurately managing the children at the community level.
Community health workers at the grassroots level also train the pregnant and lactating mothers on a healthy diet where those with malnourished children are provided with plum peanuts, nutrition supplements and porridge flour to help the children add weight and improve on their health.
As you know, Garissa County has what they call the GAM rate, which is the global acute malnutrition rate of 22.1%, which is extremely high compared with the what do you call the Kenya Democratic Health Survey, which is about 17.5%. We have a stunting level of 9%, actually the lowest in the country, but we are fairly doing well. But the drought situation has actually increased our global acute malnutrition rate of 21.2%, which had been on the extreme side for the last 5 years. We have never seen such.
The process is ongoing. We do hope that all those children who are already identified will be enrolled in the program and get cured and treated. Because of the response that was mounted, we have hardly seen any death as a result of malnutrition being reported in Garissa. This situation, the current drought situation, has been the worst over the last 40 years that we have ever seen in this country. And this was as a result of failure of 5 failed rainy seasons. We know that the majority of the community in this particular region, the children diet is largely milk. And we have seen the impact that this drought has had not only on the food prices but also on the livestock.
Salma Salim, The Muslim Insights.
Thank you for that report, Salma. Now moving on, President Dr. William Ruto has called on nations to work together to address the pressing issue of climate change. Speaking during a strategic dialogue on the African Climate Action Summit held at the Global Center on Adaptation in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, the President emphasized the importance of global cooperation in addressing climate change. Kenya faced the longest drought in its history, with many regions of the country experiencing severe water shortages and crop failures, leading to over 2 million Kenyans to face starvation.
2026.
President William Ruto has called for concerted global effort to fight climate change, saying nations must work together to address the challenge.
Africa is not coming to the table as a victim of climate change. Africa is coming to the table with solutions, with our ideas, with our suggestions. And we believe that we can contribute ideas, we can contribute in terms of suggestions, and we have real concrete opportunities that we can tap into.
Speaking during a strategic dialogue on the African Climate Action Summit held at the Global Center on Adaptation in Netherlands, the President called on developed countries to provide the expertise to leverage Africa's renewable energy.
We are very clear that adopting ecologically compliant technology, we can unlock huge potential of renewable energy. Hydro, wind, geothermal, solar, that are in abundance in our corner of the continent, and it is possible for us to make these assets available to sort out the challenge of energy. That is the real question. Can we continue fossil fuel powered development? No. We have renewable resources that can be made available. And we can meet halfway if we can leverage on technology from elsewhere and financing from elsewhere and fashion a win-win outcome. unless it's a win-win outcome, is unlikely to succeed. And we believe that it can be worked out.
The climate change crisis led to Kenya to declare a state of emergency after over 2 million Kenyans faced starvation due to the prolonged drought in arid and semi-arid regions.
Thank you for that report. Now moving on, the United Nations Population Fund has partnered with non-governmental organizations, including the Kenya Red Cross, Peace Winds Japan International Rescue Committee, Film Aid Kenya and Collaborative Center for Gender and Development to strengthen the provision of sexual and reproductive health information and services in 6 drought-affected counties. The project, which is themed Building Resilient Health and Protecting Systems, will reach populations in Garissa, Turkana, Marsabit, Isiolo, Samburu and Mandera counties, focusing on prevention and response to gender-based violence and harmful practices such as FGM and child marriage for the vulnerable families.
Addressing the press during a stakeholders meeting at a Garissa hotel today, the United Nations Population Fund country representative Anderson Thompson said the one-year program aims to improve the utilization of quality, integrated sexual and reproductive health and gender-based violence information and services by improving the institutional capacity of county governments to provide these services in emergencies.
We want to make sure that across all the ASAR counties, interventions and support to sexual reproductive health, anything with safe motherhood, not dying in childbirth, making sure the baby is healthy, are all improved. We are also working to prevent gender-based violence, including harmful practices such as female genital mutilation and early marriage.
The program will further seek to ensure that essential reproductive health medicines and supplies will be distributed to health facilities to strengthen the provision of reproductive health care.
Of course, we are very pleased to be in Garissa, not only Garissa town, but the entire county. We applaud Garissa for being on the forefront of a lot of work that is being done, hosting not only a large refugee community, but also, as we've learned today, being a destination for people who have suffered throughout the drought period and who have come from Wajir, Mandera, Tana River and other neighboring counties.
Fatuma Aiman from the County Reproductive Health Department said that the program will be of great help in reducing the high-level maternal death, which is currently at 641 per 100,000 births.
So our burden is overwhelming, and if this program comes, it will do a great help to the county and it will improve our indicators. And what they have launched today, the mama kits which they have donated to us, I'm told there are 100 packs of maternal mama kits. This one now will improve and attract more mothers to deliver at the health facility in the Garissa Referral Hospital.
UNFPA donated Children's Dignity and Mama Kits, which will help in attracting more women to deliver in hospitals across the country. Reporting for Muslim Insight, Muhammad Shakombo.
Thank you for that, Mohammed Shakombo. Now we're coming back with the review of the Friday Bulletin, and I am joined not alone by Mr. Farouk Chacha Mwita, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you this fine morning?
I'm grateful, and I can only be grateful to Allah that we've seen another day to possibly add value to ourselves and to humanity as we move forward.
Alhamdulillah. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us on today's Friday Bulletin review. And obviously, just to remind the viewer, today is Friday, and every Friday we have the review of the Friday Bulletin. It is the only Muslim news bulletin in the country, and we're looking at the front page where we're seeing Subkem Lord's government efforts for Sudan evacuation. Mr. Chacha, I know that you're very familiar with this situation, and it is a civil conflict for those who are listening that is ongoing in Sudan. What would you say about the government's move, especially with evacuating Kenyan citizens?
Yeah, I will wish to join issues with SUPKEM in commending the government in their spontaneous response in making sure that the lives of Kenyans in Sudan are safe and they are brought back safely. And to my understanding, I believe, if not all, majority of the Kenyans who had identified themselves and the embassy knew that they existed in Sudan, I believe most of them have been evacuated. In fact, the foreign minister went a step further to indicate that they also assisted other foreigners, non-Kenyans, to get out of Sudan, possibly to Kenya, and then reconnect to their respective areas. But most important, as Kenya does this also, it's important that as a neighbor and a country that we've been relating with for quite some time, that they make sure that order comes in and there is stability, so that we also, Sudanese lives also matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to paint a picture of what goes on, especially when a country goes into conflict, we've seen a couple of countries, not a lot, alhamdulillah, in Africa that have had civil conflicts, and the situation is not something that is very positive. So what would you say about countries that go into conflict? What would the viewer, like, what's the first thing that somebody would think of?
You see, this conflict, they don't just come out spontaneous. I think, and this is what we are getting from the reactions from various media houses and opinion leaders, that there could be, you see, whatever is happening in Ukraine and the powers that are involved, they could possibly be involved in this Sudan conflict.
Yes.
Vested interest. But unfortunately, this vested interest do not factor in the locals and their well-being and the citizens of that country.
Yes.
So I think it's high time we love ourselves more than the interest of other countries.
Yes.
So I think Sudan should be able to look inside into themselves and decide where do they wish to head to, regardless of the interest of possibly the Russians or with the Americans and the European Union.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Now we're moving on. It's still on the front page of today's Friday Bulletin. We're seeing it's all about Hajj 2023, and we're almost, we're actually very close, and the deadlines have obviously reached, and we're seeing that the Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya is decrying that there has been a delay of issuance of passports, and this is something that probably, if, to my understanding, occurs. And recently we had, during Ramadan, when there was a grand iftar at State House, where President William Ruto said that this will no longer be an issue, but unfortunately it's still being an issue. What would you have to say about this?
Yeah, there is a difference, a very big distinction between political statements and government policy.
Yes.
So when you see things are not moving, it's because the archaic government policies are still in place. So it's until the government actualizes whatever rhetorics they make outside there and make it real. Because for the last more than 10, 15 years, whenever it comes to, it approaches the season of Hajj, this is the outcry that has always been made by the Muslim community. It means all through that time, the government policies have not yet changed.
Yes.
Or the attitude of the officers in these government offices is yet to change to comply with the pronouncements that have been made by the government.
Yes.
Because if you cross-read this particular ICPK decree with the next page at the top, whereby the government to issue on the same day birth and death certificate. This is still the same department, the immigration department.
Yes.
So we can't be talking about efficient services in issuing out death certificates while getting traveling documents has always become a nightmare. And so many people have missed out despite having made savings to travel and perform this very important religious duty, but they are unable because of government policy is not changing.
Yes. Other than, as you've mentioned, I like that you've said that political statements are different, you know, and it's also about actions speaking louder than words. What are some of the things you would love to see that the government immediately would do?
Yeah, as in, you see, this is supposed to be a thing of the past.
Yes.
You see, Kenya now has come to age. It's just the other day that we were celebrating, was it Madaraka? Something of that effect. But you see, that Madaraka, you don't see it in reality. Especially for not only Muslims in general, but those maybe who come from border towns, whereby they must be subjected to vetting.
Yes.
And throughout, before elections, immediately after elections, we'll always get these promises.
Yes.
So if the Muslim leadership doesn't follow up to have these political pronouncements turned into policy, then I think this is a chorus that we must prepare ourselves to continue singing for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just still on that same page, just before we continue, we're seeing Jamia Mosque is going to be holding an open day on June 3rd. And Mr. Farouk Chacha, I know that you're very familiar with Jamia Mosque's projects and da'wah programs. What do you say about open day? Does it bring out a positive outreach, especially to the whole community, not just Muslims, but also non-Muslims? What would you say about this program?
As okay, my first and foremost, I'll wish to pray and wish for our elder, Mr. Mohammed Osman Warfa, health and age, as he continues to offer leadership in Jamia Mosque.
Yes.
And Jamia Mosque has never failed to step in whenever there is need for leadership, when community issues arise. And from our past brief history, and also in the cloud of the fight against terror, it added into the mystery, misunderstanding, misconceptions of what Islam is all about. And this particular project of having an open day, which I believe is due on the 3rd of June, is a very, very brilliant idea. It has helped a lot. You see, from the past events, you even see the reaction from leaders in the Christian world, the surprise in their faces that they had expected something else. So it has helped in demystifying a lot of misconceptions. And the immediate results of it is that in every open day, like for the last one, around 24 people reverted to Islam. So it is something positive. And I think now we need to, like, we adopt the concept of, they call it what, that we escalate, that, or it is adopted by other mosques around the world, then we'll do away with this issue that Islam is being misrepresented.
I love how you also went into detail and mentioned back when there were a lot of terror attacks in Kenya, and this is a move that I know you were lauding and you were very happy about, in, you know, opening up mosques and allowing people to come in and learn about Islam. Now we're just going to move on to the next story, and that is on the 3rd page, and this is about the power of hope in the Quran. And I know as a Muslim, you take your teachings from the Quran, you learn from the Quran, and being a lawyer, how would you say that, you know, the teachings of Islam have definitely helped you?
Yeah, in as far as if I was to use myself as a specimen.
Yes.
Yeah, the teachings of Islam are the foundation, and this is the rock whereby you stand by regardless of the harshness of the weather.
Yes.
Because the beauty is that as a Muslim, you appreciate the reason as to why Allah brought you into this world.
Yeah.
So there is a specified purpose. As we look forward to the day that our shelf life will have ended, and we proceed on to Barzakh. So we are basically, like myself being a lawyer, I must do it to a certain degree whereby I attract Allah's pleasure. If you, in whatever business as a Muslim is an ambassador of Islam. So, and Islamic issues should always come as a priority.
Yes.
And we are supposed also to do it the way we are taught, with ikhlas, believing that Allah is going to have mercy on us and admit us in Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah.
Ameen, inshallah. And that's very, very nice. And the next, something that I want us definitely to touch on is on the 5th page. And this is about balancing your studies schedule. What would you tell anyone who's listening when either they're in school or, you know, just busy, you know, trying to get an education? What is your tips for balancing, you know, your life, your social life, probably, you know, for people who want to obviously keep company and have friends, but also balance it with their studies?
I will encourage those who don't have the habit of reading the Friday Bulletin, that they are missing out on a lot.
Yes.
And also I'll also encourage those who like peruse through. You see, don't peruse through, read through the articles.
Yes.
Like the article that you referred to at page 5,
yes.
written by Khadija Islam. It brings out the current reality. You see, like for me, I might say that I belong to a certain generation, but you see, this one is very relevant to the current generation. You see, like our generation, we were not bombarded with so much.
Yeah.
You see, we didn't have social media, and the biggest distract is social media. And there is an explanation on how a student should be able to manage the social media, how they use the social media, and also prioritizing issues, because you might end up spending so much time on what is not a priority while leaving what is a priority.
Yes.
It's a topic that I will encourage everyone to, especially parents, to read through, and I also insist that their children also read through the said article. It's quite, it has come in handy.
Yes, and just on the same page, we just skipped an article on page 4, which is 10 tips on how to be a happy single Muslim woman. And as you've mentioned, it's not just about perusing, it's about reading and understanding, because these are articles that are definitely talking about some of the issues that we are facing. As you mentioned, things are different now. You've talked about social media being here but not being there back in the day. And these are articles that have been written, and people would be able to learn a lot, you know. What would you say about that article on page 4?
Yeah, central to this article is spiritualism.
Yes.
Because the moment you detach yourself from this spiritualism, then you've exposed yourself to all sorts of wolves and all those scavengers that are interested in your iman.
Yes.
Yeah, and you see, this topic is being realistic, that at one point in time, it can as well be, there are men also who are single.
Yeah.
So I think we just look at it from a broader perspective, and there are so many challenges that you see, the moment you expose yourself in the singularity, then you see it's you against the world. But the moment you insulate yourself with spiritualism, then you are covered with the most powerful to guide you through.
And that's why you say, grateful for our religion, that it has definitely left no stone unturned. Now moving on to page 6, where we're seeing Mount Kenya is unveiling the first Islamic center in Nyeri County. And this will be a center for education and training. What do you have to say about this?
You see, this is quite encouraging, and all those that have been behind this project, may it not go to waste, and may it also add in their hasanat of good things during the day of weighing of deeds. These are ongoing efforts, and I believe some of us have come across a Straight Path Dawa group that has focused going to Mashinani. That is Mr. Ramadan Gakuria. They work very closely with Sheikh Shaban, and seeing that this center comes to fruition. You see, there is a misconception that, you see, it's not an issue when you find a Somali, an Arab, or somebody from the coast ascribing to Islam. But now when you get a Kikuyu, Kuria, a Maasai, you see, for a minute somebody might even miss a heartbeat, as in, how did it happen? Yeah, so with this type of centers, it demystifies and it brings Islam to Mashinani, whereby you'll get to know Islam using your own local language.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good move.
It's quite encouraging, and we should all be supportive of such. Now, this is Nyeri. We can assume it will take care of Central. Then we believe there are others in Nyanza. So we should make sure that every county has such an Islamic center.
Yes, and the next question on page 6, I want us to talk. I think we'll be able to finish that off if we still have time, because I understand we have to release you very early. We're talking about the Qadis transferred in reorganization and mini shuffle. We're seeing that the Qadis court is having a reshuffle, and as currently we still do not have Qadi. They're still vetting for the next chief Qadi, and we're seeing that Qadi's court has had a shortage of Qadis to help bring a service to Muslims who obviously use the courts. What would you say about this?
All said and done,
yes,
we should appreciate that there is a lot of gains that have been made as far as the Qadi's court is concerned with the coming of the new constitution.
Yes.
With the first Chief Justice, Mr. Mutunga.
Yes.
And then the one who came in next, Maraga, they increased a lot of, they created a lot of these Qadis courts in places where they never existed before. And I think this is an ongoing improvement or development. In fact, it's just the other day that they've announced, the judiciary announced that they are in the process of recruiting more Qadis, and at the same time also gets a replacement of the chief Qadi.
Yes.
Because Sukian has been acting as the deputy, and also since in the absence of the chief Qadi, he also handles the responsibilities of the chief Qadi. So I think this is an ongoing progress. It's just a matter of also, as the Muslims, we must have a think tank whereby we put all these things into perspective, and we also weigh our success stories, and we also identify areas that we need to put more pressure if it is for the government to implement, or whatever body of the government that needs to implement. But as indicated with this reshuffle, there are some towns that used to have a Qadi, or they were supposed to have a Qadi, but a Qadi has never been posted. But it's us, the ball is in our court to be aggressive, and in making sure that we've brought it to the attention of people who have potential and they have the qualification to become Qadis. At some point, you might hear that the people don't even have a clue, or they have a clue, but they've fallen short of the requirements, so they need to be encouraged maybe to engage if there is a certain diploma they need to do, so that the next time these jobs are announced, that then he will be qualified to take those jobs. You see, let's not leave it to individual Muslims to pursue these issues.
Yes.
And I also really appreciate the input of Jamia Mosque, and other big institutions in the country should also take up this responsibility within their jurisdictions to just identify people that can qualify for these jobs, and we'll stop complaining that we don't have access to the Qadi's court.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, because, being an advocate in High Court, you're able to definitely explain this better, and grateful for that. Just before we finish off, just one last question. For anyone who's listening, I know there are a lot of Muslims may or may not be aware of the functions of the Qadi's court. Instead of taking your matters or your cases to a normal court, and alhamdulillah, being Muslim, we're in a country where we are given that, I would say it's not a favor, but it's a very, very big blessing to have a court that rules with the Islamic Sharia. What would you tell them if they're listening? Like, what are the kind of cases that people should be able to go to the Qadi's court and take?
You see, the buck stops with us as Muslims.
Yes.
The law is very clear that the Qadi's court is only applicable to parties who profess the Muslim religion. So to build the Qadi's court, the ball stops with us.
Yes.
Because you see, there are some some individuals will want to take advantage of the others, then they'll argue, then me, I don't want to go to the Qadhi's court.
Yes.
And then you see, as per the constitution, even if you profess to be a Muslim, you can't be forced to take your matters to the Qadhi's court.
Yes.
So it is for us to build our iman and believe that our solutions can only be solved as prescribed by the Almighty.
Yes.
So the moment we embody that type of attitude and mentality, then you see there are certain issues that are not within the jurisdiction of the Qadhi.
Yes.
But still, owing to the knowledge, the Islamic knowledge that the Qadhi has, and also having interacted with the common law, then you'll be able even to advise you on how to go about. There is a lot that people can get from the Qadhis besides solving disputes, which includes also issues of getting advice on other issues that are Islamic related, but you can't directly get these solutions when you go to this other court. So bottom line, it is us to make the Qadhi's court or destroy the Qadhi's court. And you see, this was a compromise when Zanzibar was to be cut out and not made to be part of Kenya, that okay, we'll adopt the Qadhi's court, but with limited jurisdiction. Before then, the Qadhi's court used to be the Sharia court, and it ruled on criminal matters, everything. But now, when it comes to criminal, it is left to common law, and the Qadhi's court has just been given some few areas to deal with.
I love how you've mentioned the Qadhi's court. It is up to us as Muslims to either break it or build it. And that brings us to the end of our review. I know that there are a couple of stories that are still there, but we're not able to touch on them because of time, but we're taking a short break. Once again, I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Chacha, for joining us here on Horizon TV. It's really nice that you were able to come regardless. I know you have a busy schedule, so we are really grateful for you joining us. And once again, that was today's review of the Friday Bulletin. Once again, shukran.
It's my pleasure, and myself and Jamia Mosque, we come a long way, and we've always had a very blessed relationship, Jamia Mosque and Masjid Al-Amin, through our CEO, Mr. Ali Khalid, and we pray that it continues to blossom. I saw Jamia Mosque had the annual Jamia Mosque meeting, and a lot was reviewed, and may they continue with the same spirit.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, and I think that brings us to the end of our review of today's Friday Bulletin. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here on Horizon TV. We're going for a short break, but we will be back shortly.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Quote of the day. Imam Muhammad bin Idris al-Shafi'i said, "Whenever I voice my opinion or formulate a principle where something contrary to my view exists, on the authority of the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, then the correct view is what the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, has said, and it is my view."
Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض بارزة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا وعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم أن لن نجعل لكم موعدا.
Quote of the day. Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu said, "Do not quarrel and do not create differences among yourselves. Hold fast to the rope of Allah and maintain unity in your ranks."
Uislamu ni dini yenye mpangilio ulio kamili na taratibu zake humpa fursa kila mja kuifahamu na kuelewa.
Muislamu yoyote lazima achukue jukumu la kuifahamu dini yake, kuanzia kwenye shahada, ashhadu, nakiri kwa moyo,
kisha usafi wa kimwili.
Hapo ndipo huanza safari ya kumwabudu Mola wake.
Usikose kujiunga nasi kila siku ya Jumamosi live kwenye kipindi Ufahamu Uislamu ili ujifunze mengi usiyojua kutoka Horizon TV.
Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض بارزة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا وعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم أن لن نجعل لكم موعدا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Enyi mlioamini, munapoitwa kuhudhuria swala ya Ijumaa, fanyeni haraka kuikimbilia, muache biashara zenu, hilo ni bora ikiwa mwelewa.
Isikilizeni kwa umakinifu khutba ya Ijumaa
ili uzidi kujenga imani yako na kupata faida nyingi ya siku hii.
Coming to you every Friday from Jamia Mosque, Nyeri.
Live on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV, and we're back with the news recap. And we begin the story with the Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya has decried delay and unnecessary bureaucracy against Muslims by the Immigration Department in issuance of passports. The leaders said Muslims have been classified as coming from border areas and regardless of their background are subjected to an illegal and discriminatory policy of vetting before they are considered to be issued with the passports, even after President William Ruto issued a directive that there will be no vetting when acquiring these important documents.
The Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya has expressed its frustration and disappointment with regards to the issuance of passport to Muslims, especially those intending to travel for Hajj this year. Nairobi CIPK Chapter Deputy Secretary Sheikh Ibrahim Mohammed called on the Migration Department to expedite the issuance of passport, saying the delay in issuance of this important document will inconvenience Muslims who are in preparation for Hajj that is expected to begin on 26th June 2023.
As you may be aware, there has been delays in issuance of passport because our stocks were very low. But today I'm happy to announce that we have received over 100,000 booklets for passports. So from now, the process of issuance of passports will be faster, will be more efficient, and I urge all Kenyans to turn out, those who have not received passports, to come and pick this very important document.
Speaking last month at the Immigration Department headquarters when he received over 100,000 printed booklets, Immigration and Citizen Service Principal Secretary Ambassador Julius Bitok called on Kenyans who had applied to collect their passports.
Those applicants who want to travel, those applicants who want to go for jobs abroad, those who want to visit their friends and family abroad, those who want to travel, passports are now available for you. So you can take your time. There's more adjustment. You know, the problem has been we are adjusting. We applied for 66 pages. We are told they are out of stock, and we have to change to maybe 45 pages or vice versa. So right now, we have enough stocks that will be able to serve Kenyans.
Nairobi CIPK Chapter Deputy Secretary Sheikh Ibrahim Mohammed called for equality in service delivery, noting that while the Constitution is explicit that acquiring a Kenyan passport is a right for all citizens, Muslims still face challenge in acquiring this important travel document.
Nishawaambia wizara ambayo inahusika ya kwamba kama kuna vetting, watu wote wafanyiwe vetting. Na kama watu wote hawafanyiwi vetting, then nobody should be subjected to vetting. Let us have one law for all of us. So that is the new directive, that we want to be careful, but we want to eliminate any prejudices against any community or any religion. We must have one uniform exercise that exercises caution but does not discriminate anybody.
Reporting for Muslim Insight, my name is Abdurrahman Gaddafi Yasin.
Thank you for that report, Gaddafi. Now moving on, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, together with the British High Commissioner to Kenya, Jane Marriott, yesterday launched the Kenya-Somalia-Ethiopia Borderlands project, a cross-border project seeking to enhance peace and stability and strengthen social and economic diversity in the border areas between Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia. The project integrates ongoing security development and peace-building efforts and strengthens effectiveness of national responses to insecurity along the border.
Northern Kenya is our priority in the sense that they are vast lands with great and huge potential for food security. If we can open up that area by doing roads, connectivity to electricity, and then dams and irrigation, we would, in a very comprehensive manner, address our challenges in this country. And that is the way to go. And we have lessons learned, Israel, the Middle East, all these deserts, through technology and very serious and prudent interventions, have been converted into suppliers of excess food for local consumption and for export. So we really want to appreciate the contribution of your government in trying to open up northeastern Kenya and northern Kenya, and we don't take it for granted. And for us, as we grapple with the challenges of the effects of climate change, we are convinced that northern Kenya and northeastern Kenya should be a priority in terms of opening up the area so that we don't take emergency food relief to those areas but we receive surplus from those areas to feed the rest of the country.
Thank you for that. Now moving on, MP Shah Hospital, Healing Little Hearts in partnership with Jain Social Group Nairobi organized a fundraiser to help children born with heart defects undergo life-saving operations. The event, dubbed Furhani, tells a story of a little boy born with a heart condition which consists of a large hole in the heart that meant the boy could not play with his friends due to his condition. His parents abandoned him with his grandmother in a village in Taita Taveta County. The fundraising event was held at a Nairobi hotel and aimed to help over 80 children born with heart defects who cannot afford the medical expenses this year.
Furhani is a 7-year-old boy who underwent a high-risk surgery at the MP Shah Hospital in collaboration with Healing Little Hearts Kenya to correct his heart condition, as he could not walk without getting breathless and needed to squat to divert blood flow to his lungs.
Hassan alizaliwa akiwa na ugonjwa wa moyo, lakini mapema hatukugundua. Akaja kujulikana akiwa na kama mwaka hivi. Alivyoanza hali ya kutambaa, alikuwa anatambaa kidogo anaketi. Akikaa anakaa anahema kama mtu amekimbizwa. Alivyoendelea kukua, ikawa wakati wa kufika kusimama asingeweza kutembea, maana alikuwa anahema sana.
Speaking during the fundraising event, Rajesh Shah, the chairperson Jain Social Group, said the 7-year-old story is one of the many stories that need financial support, with many parents in Kenya facing similar challenges with children with heart defects.
That's a significant problem we have in Kenya of congenital heart problems for children. We recognize that way back in 2014. We initially started sending children to Israel for operating on their hearts and everything, but we found that travel and everything was risky. Eventually, Healing Little Hearts were doing a surgery at the MP Shah Hospital, and we have since November 2016 we have been supporting this program. And the reason we're doing that is because the parents who come for these treatments cannot afford the treatment because it's very expensive, but it's needed. It's needed for the survival of the child. It's needed. You've seen the difference it's made to this child you've just seen. And that's why we do it, because we want to help those families who can't afford these surgeries.
Led by Dr. Tusif Din, the CEO MP Shah Hospital urged Kenyans to join hands to support his program that will go along the way in supporting children from vulnerable family awaiting heart surgery.
Every open heart surgery costs Kenya shillings 1.2 million. Every keyhole surgery costs over 750,000 Kenya shillings. I would personally urge all those present here, either in their personal or in their official capacities, to open your healthy hearts and assist us by generously pledging to this noble cause.
MP Shah Hospital, Healing Little Hearts, in partnership with Jain Social Group, together with well-wishers, have so far saved the lives of over 200 disadvantaged children like Furhani. The hospital hopes to support at least 80 more children this year.
Our patients, our families, let's support these mothers, let's support these children, let's give them a fighting chance, let's give them a new lease of life. Let's make marks in the lives of these children. Let's be more. Let's do more for these children.
Reporting for Muslim Insight, my name is Nadia Musa.
A very beautiful story, Mariam. Now moving on, schools reopened for the second term on May 8th, but despite the reopening of the schools, many business operators say business has not been as usual. Their businesses have been affected by the high cost of living, with many parents choosing not to spend money as they would. The transport sector was not left behind.
The cost of living has also affected other low-income Kenyans, like boda operators, and those working in the public transport, like matatu owners.
Kama chana sana, tulikuwa tunaona watoto wa shule wako wengi, lakini wasasi hawana pesa. Watoto wenyewe wanakuja kufika kwa ofisi kama hiyo yangu, wakikuwa nataka kwenda nyumbani ama walikuwa nataka kwenda shule, unakuta mtoto fare ya 300 anakuja paka anasema ni 200.
Shule imefunguliwa lakini hakuna pesa. Kufuatia hii mafuta tena tumesikia itaongeza. Saa kila mtu anahofia hiyo.
Uchumi sasa kwa Kenya imekuwa mbaya zaidi. Tunaomba serikali yetu ya Kenya, rais wetu William Samoei Ruto atusaidie.
Everyone says they are feeling the pinch of the harsh economy. Osman Mahmoud is a business operator.
Sisi ni wauzaji wa vitu ya shule kama bags, manguo. Hakuna kazi inaendelea. Tumebaki peke yetu. Customers wa shule zimefunguliwa, hawana pesa. Kuna harsh economy. Circulation ya pesa hakuna.
Kwa miaka nyingi nilikuwa nafanya kazi ya M-Pesa. Company inaitwa Liquid Agency na agent ya KCB mtaani. Kwa wakati ya siku hizi tunaona iko changamoto sana. Mambo ya school fees tena siku hizi hakuna mtu anakuja kuweka school fees. Mambo ya biashara ya M-Pesa pia hakuna watu anakuja kuweka. Kwa hivyo tunasema tu at least there will be some changes tufanyiwe.
Sami Korir is a business operator in Bomet County running a supermarket. He says there is nothing to smile about due to the low number of customers visiting his business premise.
The reopening of schools is seen as usual, but for the business operators here, they say the sun doesn't shine like usual. Hassan Mohammed, Horizon TV.
Thank you for that report, Hassan Mohammed. And now that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. My name is Nadia Osman and my sign language interpreter today was Ilhan Noor. Until next week, ma'as-salam.
Horizon TV.